Hello, people of the world. I am a ceramist artist. At the moment, I'm studying English and cannot speak fluently, so my words were translated by my son. I will not reveal my name or surname, but I will say that I am from the European Union. I'm consciously choosing not to share my name because I want to find out what art buyers are really interested in: the artwork itself or the name behind it. And how could I, from a small country, manage to sell a few of my works? I have no money, no influential connections, and no marketing specialist. So, in a way, I have no real chance to make a living from it. This platform might be my only chance. I have been worked with the S-graffito technique for 20 years. Over that time, I have done many experiments to understand the possibilities of this technique. And I have come to one important conclusion. This technique will never become attractive to business due to its complexity. However, this technique is excellent for bringing unique ideas to life. First, I want to help you understand what is a work of art. We are surrounded by many beautiful objects, paintings, products, and handicrafts, but how do we distinguish between them? A product is usually intended for consumption or use. These are most often made by factories, small companies, or skilled craftspeople. Typically, a model is created and then put into production for a set quantity or based on orders. This work usually have nothing to do with art. We often buy objects that feature colors, shapes, or patterns that feel familiar or appealing to us. Anyone from children to elderly people can make a product from materials they like. A task or assignment is typically completed based on a commission or project, or sometimes it becomes a task when an artist struggles to express an idea, and in the end, the result fails to convey any emotion. Rage sets in. I have worked so hard, and for what? At this point, the question always arises: how is a work of art born? It's easy to talk about a piece whose creator is no longer alive. Notice how critics rarely dare to describe the work of a living artist. They are afraid to misspeak. That's why this part is so fragile. We can all learn the history of art development. Our information systems make that possible. But when talking about the progression of art, its academic analysis seems to end in the suffix ism. For example, Impressionism, Cubism, Classicism, etc. That was the final level of formal art analysis. You would think everything is now clear, but at the same time, academic philosophy began to dry up and somehow just disappeared. It feels as though philosophy itself vanished. And yet now we are witnessing a massive invasion of visual philosophy into the art world, something that's taking over the artistic space. I have consciously named this phenomenon as such because when we enter this kind of exhibition, we don't come to feel emotions. We come looking for meaning, depth, a coded message. And more often than not, the title of the work answers all the questions. I call this phenomenon the new philosophy of 21st century. And as we all know, philosophy is the study of life. What troubles me most is that handcrafts and this new philosophy have erased the fragile layer of true art, which is now in the edge of extinction. And this philosophy cannot fulfill emotional needs. That's a fact. This new philosophy requires neither emotion nor soul. How convenient. What a decent business. But sadly, if you want to create something truly deep, you have to invest your soul permanently. It's a huge sacrifice. It's a real shame that feeling has become something to be ashamed of, something abnormal, even terrifying. In some countries, people are even being treated for having emotions. To me, that's a nightmare. It seems like every other artist is considered half insane. Creation is a very fragile process. If we were to define creativity philosophically, it's like a cloud. In one environment, it disappears without a trace. In another, it causes an emotional storm. I have often been asked what character traits most an artist have. First and foremost, an artist must possess a high level of emotional sensitivities. I am a ceramist, so I also need to understand all the exact science, mathematics, physics, and chemistry. I can't write down any formulas or explain any laws of physics, nor do I understand mathematics well. Yet, with the naked eye, I can see a micron expertly, mix any chemical compound used in ceramics, and calculate proportions mathematically without a ruler. You don't need to graduate from every art academy or have a drawer full of diplomas. None of the art academy graduates I know stand a chance of creating works like mine. Experience shows that creative maturity comes only after a roughly 10 years of persistent work. I myself only graduates from a vocational art school specializing in ceramics. In my country, this is considered as a great shame. Yet in that school I learned everything a ceramist need to know. Today's schools don't teach that. We were taught, and professionals like me are no longer needed in my country. A true artist is like a sponge, always absorbing everything from everywhere, which becomes the foundation for their creations. Here lies an important hidden message. I will keep it to myself. An artist never runs out of ideas and doesn't need to go to some so-called special place to recharge creative energy. What does the mysterious creative stage looks like? The one legends are made of. It never begins by signing a project, order, or contract. Creativity is a phenomenon that comes only in freedom. If you think you will produce a lot of works during the creative stage, at best you will make two, and usually only one. So, it is definitely not necessary to waste your most precious resource, time, for a doubtful result. Speaking for myself, I feel into such an emotional state that I couldn't fully understand myself. In the evening, when I returned home, my son would always ask, "Mom, what's wrong with you?" I would reply, "Mom is in the creativity process." Now I joke, the body come home, but the soul stayed in the studio. In the end, you pull the piece out of the kiln, place it on the table, take a few steps back, turn to look at it, and in that moment, you already know which part of your soul it saved or if it saved nothing at all. Here lies a second hidden message. But usually during the process, you already know what the result will be. The night before opening the kiln, you already know what you will pull out. Something informs you, though you can't describe it. Second, you begin to understand that every work of art takes one of your emotions and a part of your soul. For example, one of my pieces holds all my calmness, another holds all the pain in my heart, and each one contains a part of my essence. In the end, you realize you have very little soul left for yourself. That is why I decided to close my studio, because I don't want to lose my mind. And history shows that a mad artist can only transmit madness. It's like the first step into the world of the death, where nothing happened about life. The third moment is very interesting, when you can create with someone else's soul and emotions. I have managed to do this 3 times for 3 different people. One of them is my son, whose soul I was unable to unlock for 26 years. He loves me very much, but keeps his soul locked behind 9 locks. When my son turned 18, I promised to create something just for him. I spent 7 years thinking about what to create. The most interesting thing is that the moment a person opens their soul to you, all the details and decisions for the work comes instantly. When I finished the piece, I put it by the window, stepped back, turned around and looked at it from afar. I felt a strong pressure in my chest. I started to breathe deeply, and I realized I couldn't handle the energy in that piece. So I had to cover it until my son came home from Dublin. I consciously decided not to show it to him over the phone. I wanted to see his first live reaction. What I saw confirmed my theory. Everything he opened up to me during the first glance returned to him as its owner. I watched him from the side and knew exactly what he felt. Moments like these are nothing short of a miracle of art. I remember visiting an art gallery in Dublin where I saw paintings by famous artists such as Picasso, Cézanne, Renoir, and others. Approaching Picasso's painting, it radiated life energy. As we know, only women have such energy. So I understood that the muse for that work was a woman. Very curious which one. Then, when I approached Cézanne's painting, which was just purchased for 1 million euros, I felt absolutely nothing. It didn't even radiate masculine energy. This is how you finally understand the difference between massive quantities of artworks or pieces. As an artist, I am very interested in how so-called critics evaluate works. These people, in most cases, have created nothing and have no real understanding of creativity. I don't believe reading scientific information about art can determine the value of works. In truth, only the author knows which of their works are true creations and which are merely complex tasks or simple products. That is all for today. Tomorrow I will show you how author sees the art.